Welcome to the Stones of Strength podcast, an audio plinth upon which we will endeavor to centralize and showcase stories and information related to the lifting of historical and non-historical stones and the ongoing development and re-emergence of stone lifting culture. Welcome to episode 22 of the Stones of Strength podcast, where we had a fantastic discussion with none other than the Highland Wolf himself, John Gibb. John is someone who, in a very short amount of time, has become an exceptional stone lifter. So it was so awesome to talk to him about where he started in stone lifting from these humble beginnings to now, only about 5 years later, is really at the pinnacle of the sport, which is proven through just as recently as last year, winning not only Scotland's strongest stone lifter, but also Britain's strongest stone lifter, and then going on to this spring, having a fantastic performance in Iceland, where he battled some horrendous weather, and what you'll find out later, also worked through a fairly severe injury to lift the Húsafell with incredible ease, Ardvorlich, Latra, Legestein, Brynjolf Stack, only to name a few. So it was just such a great opportunity to chat with John. We've both been looking forward to this for quite a while, and he's just such an incredible lifter, but also such a gentleman at the same time.
We also had our hot topic on the concept of what we'll call significant names or titles in reference to historical stone lifting, right? So we're not discussing modern stone lifting. We're discussing the concepts that we find in the literature, in the history, in the research of historical stone lifting. Now, this was an interesting one because Fullstyrker is the one that comes to most people's mind, and it's something that's been on my mind for many years as I wanted to go to Iceland. And it's always been to me a title that you have to earn by going to Iceland and doing the actual lift in order to earn the title. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't go to Iceland just to earn the title, but in order to earn that title, you have to go to Iceland. And so we put a hot topic out there because we have seen many, many different forms of people wanting to claim that particular title in different ways. Now, the results were overwhelming with respect to having to go to the place and do the thing to get the title. Just 98%
to 2%, and part of me thinks that 2% someone just misclicked,
or is trolling, or what have you. But the comment section was also overwhelming in that respect, and we just do want to make something clear. This wasn't a setup in order to have a home run from our point of view. We've had discussions with people over many years. People have said that I've had a discussion about this with somebody who said that the concept of having to go overseas and lifting those stones to earn the title is gatekeeping, that a country's history and traditions is somehow gatekeeping because this individual wanted that title so badly for themselves. We have had somebody on the opposite end of the spectrum with a respective point of view that says, no, Fullstyrker is something that you can attain at home as a tribute and as a respect to these historical trends. And although that's a lovely thought, that's not where it seems like most people's position stands. And then we've also had somebody somewhere in the middle and a bit off to the side that made the comment that actually referring to the historical documents and references that these researchers have found is appealing to authority. So actual facts are appealing to authority. And this individual made the point that rigid rules make things less fun and less interesting. There's no room for things to evolve. Well, we would say there's many ways for things to evolve. That's what modern stone lifting is for. Mm-hmm. And we encourage people to, and that's what we've been doing here. But when it comes to historical stones all across the world, it's not your place to try and change a culture's history to suit yourself. And so that is what it appeared to be. It seems that it was a generalized consensus, and I do wish that the people who had these big feels actually, when given the platform to express their opinions, they kind of tucked tail. Yeah. So you had your chance.
And to that gentleman's comment, if you're looking to involve yourself in a practice with a lot of room for evolution, maybe picking one that is done for the most part to honor and respect history is not the best one to take part in. And I even said it to this gentleman in a comment. The room for evolution is in the fact that we have the ability to create modern stones of strength and modern tests to put out to the world for other people to come and take part in, right? But wanting room for this practice to evolve doesn't mean co-opting or cannibalizing or parasitizing on titles and history that are deeply ingrained in cultures and that are foreign to a lot of these people that are trying to claim these titles. And again, with these hot topics, we are trying to present both sides of an argument. The argument is not always going to be balanced. And I think you need to remember that if you are, like right now, someone who is passionate enough about stone lifting to offer up your time to listen to the content we put out, you're likely very, very passionate, and you probably don't represent sort of these fringe participants that really in some ways are looking to jump in and try to associate themselves with coolest or most glamorous or glorious parts of stone lifting, right? There's a lot more to stone lifting than just the cool titles that come associated with it. Those are also awesome, but really, if you're in stone lifting just because you want to become full stirker, then you may be in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, completely and totally agree.
Yeah. And so with respect to that discussion about how stone lifting can mean many different things to many different people, and it's important that we respect any way in which people choose to interact, participate, or celebrate stone lifting, as long as, number one, it's not infringing on others' abilities to enjoy stone lifting, but number two, it's respecting the integrity and the history of these stones. Maximum Iron, who have been celebrants of stone lifting for a long time, they put a ton of time and effort and money into creating fantastic content like magazines and documentaries to highlight what a wonderful practice this is. They recently put out a competition where people can essentially vote for, the best stone lifter, best newcomer, one that I guess is associated with what we do, the best podcast. Now we can completely appreciate that it's not for everybody. There are a lot of people who have chosen to involve themselves in stone lifting because they have kind of shied away from the competitive side of strength sports, which is totally understandable. And in many ways, that's where we find our home in stone lifting now as well, is sort of just taking part in this historical practice because we love the history and the challenge. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of people involved in stone lifting that are looking for competition, that love competing, right? Again, John is someone who's a great example who has a deep appreciation for the rich history of stone lifting, but he also likes to get out and compete. He's got that sort of deep competitive drive within him that he needs to scratch every so often with the competition. And so, unfortunately, there's been some people who have come out and said that, this flies in the face of what stone lifting is. And I don't know that that's appropriate. I think the umbrella of stone lifting is huge, and there's room for everybody underneath it. And so maybe look at this as an opportunity, at least for those who want to participate, an opportunity to shout out and to celebrate the people in the stone lifting community that have encouraged you or inspired you or supported you, people who put out content you appreciate, the researchers and historians that have poured tons of time and effort into finding these stones that we're now all lucky enough to go and be able to lift.
Yeah, and there can be many elements to stone lifting for one individual person as well. Like, so if I can speak just for myself here, is I've competed in stone lifting events, started modern stones of strength. I've lifted those modern stones by myself alone because I love doing it in the bush. I've had times where we go down together with a big group of people. So you're doing the same thing with your friends. I like lifting in my garage under perfect conditions. I like traveling to do historical stones that are in not perfect conditions. Yes. We host events where there are no winners, no losers. It's for men, women, and children. So the stone lifting umbrella, even for an individual person, can be extremely varied. So it's important to realize that you may like it in a different way than others, but there are people that want to push themselves as hard as they can, or they research, or they do all of these things. And so if the concept of awards puts you off, that's fair play to you, but just keep in mind that there may be people that the way they view stone lifting, it is something they like.
Yep, for sure. If you don't appreciate it, then just don't participate. Because again, I think we need to recognize the fact that Maximum Iron has done so much to get stone lifting out to a broader audience, but in a way that is very respectful. Their documentary did an equally wonderful job of highlighting the deep and rich history of historical stone lifting in Scotland, highlighting the specific stones, but also highlighting the wonderful community members that are involved in stone lifting in Scotland. So I think, I don't want to speak on behalf of you, but from us, hats off to Maximum Iron. I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing. And for those of you who are interested in involving yourself in this competition, whether it's being up for an award or nominating others, check out Maximum Iron's Instagram page. There's more information on how to be involved. I believe nominations end on November 2nd, but then I think public voting opens up. And so again, you have another opportunity to make sure you have your voice heard if there are people in the Stonelifting community that you want to celebrate. Speaking of someone who deserves celebrating, our guest for episode 22 is John Gibb. John is someone who got into Stonelifting around the same time as both of us and has really dedicated himself to his craft. He's gone from someone who was not a lifter at all to someone who has won multiple Stonelifting competitions, has lifted some incredible stones, has had unbelievable achievements, and all of that has been done through the simple ingredients of hard work, dedication, and grit. He's also someone that has done a fantastic job of showcasing the importance of that hard work, dedication, and grit to his children. And I think through what we've seen on Instagram, has used Stonelifting as a bit of a pillar to continue to nurture this tight family bond that they have. It's wonderful to see. He is just a great ambassador for Stonelifting. And we had a fantastic time talking to him. Just a gentleman. We just love watching and following his story, considering what he's done in the past 5 years. Can't wait to see what he does in the future. And he's healing up from injury, but we have no doubt that he'll be back stronger than ever. And we look forward to seeing it. So without further ado, episode 22 of the Stonelifting podcast featuring John the Highland Wolf Gibb. Welcome to episode 22 of the Stones of Strength podcast, where we are joined by none other than the Wolf of the Highlands, John Gibb. How you doing, John?
I'm perfect, thank you. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to have this chat with you. I mean, we've had a lot of decorated strength athletes on this podcast, you know, people like Sandra Bradley, who have won strongman events on a world stage, but you are probably the most decorated athlete with respect to having won titles specifically in stonelifting competitions, right? You're Scotland's strongest stonelifter and Britain's strongest stonelifter, which is fantastic. I mean, in a place where stonelifting is such a huge activity and there's such a large community, to win a title like that there, I mean, it puts you in the very top echelon of stonelifters in the entire world, in our opinion. So
yeah, it's definitely very high caliber contestants that I'm up against over here, especially Britons as well, because that was like the top guys from England and Ireland as well. So yeah, it was good and tough work.
That's a large pool of very talented and strong individuals to be pulling from.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, maybe let's start with the origin story, when you first got introduced into strength sports and then how that evolved into this really strong love and relationship with stonelifting.
Yeah, well, I'd never really done strength sports at all. I was actually a football player or a soccer player up until my mid-20s. I lived over in New Zealand for 4 years, played soccer over there. Could never get used to calling it soccer, but football.
Yeah, you can say football, yeah.
It's football. Played it over there for a while. Got a bit of a dodgy knee, I think, from the hard ground and that over there. So I kind of stopped doing things from like up until my 30s, really. And then it wasn't until one of my New Zealand friends, I'd obviously moved back to Scotland, and he had tagged me in this thing during COVID about men's mental health and doing like, I think it was 50 push-ups a day for a month. And I thought, well, I could normally never do 10, but I sort of dialed myself in, focused on it, and then just started doing that. And I did the month, and I couldn't believe the difference in my shoulders and that after like a month of working out. And yeah, it just all sort of escalated from there. Obviously, COVID was pretty quiet, so you were like buying random plates from people and getting the garden full of random stones and things like that. But it wasn't until 2021. It was my New Year's resolution I'd set myself to lift the Dinnie Stones in memory of my older brother, who sadly passed away in 2002. So it was to mark 25 years since he had passed away. So he had a fascination growing up with the Dinnie Stones. And I've got a photo of him lifting the small one with two hands when he was 15, but he passed away when he was 19. And I don't know, it was just something that since I'd put this strength on my shoulders, I thought I'll turn it into doing something meaningful to mark the sort of date. So yeah, that's what I went and done, and started training to lift the Dinnie Stones, really.
Wow. So what kind of catches me off guard is you went from the goal of the Dinnie Stones to Britain's strongest stone lifter in a very short period of time with no prior strength experience. But like,
that's wild.
There had to be some signs growing up where like, maybe I'm strong, right? This is something you have an innate strength in you that you have now harnessed.
You're a big guy. I imagine you were probably a juggernaut on the football field too.
Yeah, I was a pretty tough centre midfielder, and I definitely like to throw in a big challenge or two. I actually played striker for a few years as well, which, it was good fun. I like to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
But, I like growing up, like my whole family's from D-side, so from where the Dinnie Stones are based at Pot Arch, like across the river, my uncle's helps run a farm for, Christ, it must be about 40 years now. He's been on that farm. And then my granny and grandpa, they had a farm just outside of Boyne, Bell Wade Farm, he called that. So my dad and all his brothers, he has 3 brothers, so there was the 4 Gibbs, and they were all farming background, sort of tough sort of guys. My dad actually was into powerlifting and that when he was in his early teens. And there was a guy, he's actually on the Donald Dinnie website, his name's Sid Strachan, but he actually coached my dad, and Sid Strachan had actually lifted the Dinnie Stones. He's one of the lightest guys to do it as well, but he was an absolute powerhouse of a guy. So there was always that background of knowing my dad had lifted heavy and things, but I just never really got into it myself. And it wasn't until I was 35 and I decided to start lifting weights, and it just all escalated pretty quick. I just got in touch with the right people. First person I messaged was Stevie Shanks because I saw his YouTube videos. He put me on to Jim Splain. Jim Splain then put me on to Brett Nicol.
You went right to the
and
top.
then the rest's history. Basically, I trained with Brett for 3 months, and then he told me I was ready to lift the Dinnie Stones. So it all went pretty quick. But I was out at his twice a week for 3 months solid. He put a lot of time and effort into me, and I'll always appreciate that from Brett.
What a generous guy.
He really is.
Like, helping train people and share his wealth of information, but being a student of the Dinnie Stones and providing access and kind of watching over them and making them available for people. Like I wouldn't say it's a thankless endeavor because everyone really appreciates them, but it's a huge commitment in comparison to,
definitely.
So yeah. So Brett,
because I turned up to his house and the first thing he had me lift was the nickel stones, and I'd just seen these stones on Europe's Strongest Man, and all the strongest guys in Europe trying to walk them, and I was straight in there, and he showed me the position to get, showed me the hook grip sort of thing, and I managed to lift the 1/4 ton, 252 kg on my first attempt. And then he said, right, we've got something to play with here. But I was about 103 kg then. Okay. So a good bit lighter than what I was. Well, I'm sitting at about 120 just now. But so I've definitely put on a bit of size in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's an interesting story about how you sort of found this love for, at least got introduced into strength and building strength during COVID, like a lot of people did when you had all that time on your hand. You couldn't get out. You figured what you could do in your own house to improve your physical health, but also the mental health aspect of it. Going back, like your older brother was obviously aware, and I'm guessing you were at the time of the Dinnie Stones and his fascination with them. Were you aware at that time too of this rich history of stone lifting in Scotland with respect to the manhood stones and other testing stones?
To be honest with you, no. I knew the Dinnie Stones and I knew the Inver Stone, and that was just because they were local stones to our area. I had no idea about the Fianna and all these other stones around about Scotland. So once I got into it, I just couldn't believe how lucky we were to have all these historic stones. I'm in Aberdeen, so everything's pretty accessible within like a 3-4 hour drive. It sort of blew my mind once I really got into it. And then obviously Brett's nickel stones were going really good. They were getting invited to Giants Live. So then that's when the nickel stone team was sort of created. And luckily, you know, me and Brett just hit up a friendship straight away. And I've been part of that for, well, since early 2021, basically. So, and we've done some pretty awesome things with him, and been on pretty awesome stone tours as well.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you really quick before we start moving on to more things, but you'd mentioned that you have family involved in farming. At any point, did you grow up doing any farming with them? Like, I'm just really trying to figure out where all of the strength of yours came from, or if it's just purely genetics.
Fixing stone walls and all that stuff. Yeah.
By the time I was sort of at an age, the farm had actually been sold on and that.
Okay.
So I wasn't actually on the farm, but my dad still liked to go to my uncle's farm and do shooting and things. And from like the age of about 7 to 10, I was actually my dad's gun dog. So he would shoot a rabbit, and if he would just clip a rabbit, he would be like, "John, go!" And I was pretty quick on my feet, so yeah, I was always like chasing down rabbits, pigeons, pheasants, you know. So yeah, I spent a good few years. So I think that's where the big legs come from.
So let's say you lift the Dinnie Stones, and I guess I would ask, in the process of training for the Dinnie Stones, did you start becoming more and more aware of the historical stones around Scotland, or was it you did the Dinnie Stones and you're like, what next now?
I was made aware of how much stones there was just because you started watching like the Rogue documentaries. Obviously met Brett and then Mark Sheriffs, Jamie Duncan, all these guys had already been, you know, on stone tours and that. So just general word of mouth, really. And once I got into it, then I started researching it myself a lot more. And, you know, obviously Instagram and Facebook makes the world a real small place. Yeah. So it was quite accessible to get this information. I use the Old Man of the Stones website a lot, you know, and I still do. I think it's one of the best information sites out there. And that's where I got most of my knowledge for the manhood stones in Scotland.
Does Mark Sheriff live in your area? I'm just wondering if there's something in the water where they get all these genetic.
He's actually in Blairgowrie.
Okay.
So he's about 2.5 hours south from me. Jamie Duncan, he's in Brechin, which is about 50 minutes away from me. And Brett's only like 35, 40 minutes from myself. So
yeah, because I was, you know, he always referred to himself as old granddad, and you know, you can tell he's an older guy, but I was thinking like early 60s. He's 74 years old.
Who is?
No, that was Brett winding him.
Oh, good. I was gonna say, holy shit.
Yeah.
Tell us.
He's like, you should I think Mark's 62 now. Okay. I think Mark's like 62 or 63.
Still incredibly impressive.
Oh, he's unreal.
Yeah, everyone's like, wait.
Oh, he is. He's unbelievable for his age.
Yeah.
Unbelievable for his age.
He needs to tell us.
But no, that's the sort of banter that Brett always chucks out there. He's like,
right.
I think he tried to lift one of the Dinnies and shouted out that he was 75 years old.
It's out there in the ether now because there's other stone lifters that I've been messaging. They're like, holy crap, Mark Sheriff's 74 years old. What the hell is going on? So
it's been
news for a lot of people. So that's exactly right. Yeah. So after having successfully lifted the Dinnie Stones, how did your training then shift and adapt, if it did, as you're more aware of this sort of broader spectrum of lifting stones in Scotland?
I mean, when I was training the Dinnies, obviously Brett's house has got a huge array of different stones, you know, natural lifting stones, not just the ring stones. So we always had a muck about with them as well. And when I'd lifted the Dinnie Stones, obviously you lift the Dinnie Stones, you then qualify you could be a competitor in Donald Dinnie Day. So my very first competition, I was thrown into Donald Dinnie Day with 2 weeks notice because this was just when COVID was starting to almost be over. So we had a very like secluded Donald Dinnie Day that, you know, there was the athletes and maybe another 40 people there. That would have been 2021 as well. So that was basically 2 weeks after I'd lifted the Dinnie Stones, I was straight into a 5-event competition, and
Welcome
I
to
think
the
it was 10 guys, and I actually finished 7th, being a complete newbie to it, basically. But that really just lit the fire underneath me, and just made me want to try out, because I've always been competitive. So, once I got a taste of that, and like that was just a few folk cheering you on, you just wanted more of that. So yeah, it just sort of started from there. Then I think maybe a month after that, I went on my first stone tour. Did the Puterach, went to Ardvorlich. I think I got wind just under the Ardvorlich on my very first attempt, but that was like an inch off the ground. And then we did a few others, the Fianna and things. So yeah, and once I'd done that, then it was just gung ho. I was so focused on trying to get stronger, because I'd seen the level that some of these guys were at Donald Dinnie Day, like Chris Beetham, Connor Curran, um, like top guys I was straight up against, and I thought, right, I really need to train hard and take this serious. So that's when it all kicked off, really.
With the Dinnie Stones, I know Brent Nickel kind of took you under his wings, but did you have any idea now, as you're approaching dealing with rounded stones, lifting to the chest, shoulder, so on and so forth, how to begin training for those? Or was there someone maybe that you met at Donald Dinnie Day that took you under their wing for that aspect of stone lifting?
It was basically just at Brett's house, and it was the first person that really I was like, God, he's good, was Jamie Duncan.
Right.
Seeing him lift a stone, I don't know if you've seen some of his Taculus Atlas stones. He's done like 165 kg. He's done Brett's 157 sandstone to barrel. And it was watching him, and he was similar ages to me. I think he maybe is a couple of years younger, but I won't go into nitty gritty. But it was seeing him lifting, and I thought, I want to be as good as this guy. And that, and me and him were back and forth on the phone messaging. We did a lot of talking. He helped a lot. Really, the Nicholstone team, they were just so good. We just all become real good mates really quick. So yeah, that's where it sort of went.
That's amazing though, to get wind even underneath the Ardvorlich, your first crack at it when you're so new, because that is just, it's such a difficult stone, and people that haven't attempted it, they can't realize that, because the number itself of the weight, like the weight isn't that intimidating, but that shape and the texture is just awful.
It was like the first time I got it to my knees and tried to stand up, it's the shape of it. It just wants to like pull your hands apart. I don't know.
Sure.
There's like nothing to grip on or anything. And I just couldn't, like, it took me 5 visits over 3 years and a lot of training to get that Ardvorlich to my shoulder. And it's one of my proudest lifts, actually, to get that to my shoulder. I think I was the 11th or 12th person to get it onto my shoulder. And
I've got a vendetta
like,
against that stone. Yeah. Because when we went to Scotland, when
I think
David,
a lot of people have.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. When we went to Scotland, David lifted Dinnie Stones. I think that was the only one I couldn't get to chest. And,
but you'd been training only for a few months at that point, and you were 200 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just, it's such a difficult stone. And I think it's that clasping and cupping strength, right? When you're not used to lifting those heavy rounded stones, when you get over 300 pounds with rounded stones, that's the point of failure for a lot of people, right? Not being able to actually create the handles with your hands because they aren't there on the stone. So,
and I think the round stones, a lot of folk actually stay away from the rounder stones because they are so difficult. You see a lot of guys, like, once they get into the big weights, they've got nice square stones, so they've actually got handles, and they're a lot easier to get off the ground because you've got something to wrap your fingers around. But yeah, that Ardvorlich, it's just a lovely shape, and it really peels the arms apart.
It does. I actually lifted that narrow width because it's not completely round. Obviously, there's a wide and a narrow way, and I actually spun it and I lifted it the more narrow way. I found that I haven't seen anyone else do that. I found the handles work better. Yeah. And then I I propped it into my lap, and it's already taller in your lap because you're lifting it that way. And I found it popped up really quite easy that way. Just
Yeah,
an
yeah.
interesting. I'd be curious to see someone else play around with that because I don't think it's a common way of picking it, but it
And I've
seemed to
seen a
work quite
couple guys doing the clasp right round about it, you know, and standing
the
it up
class.
narrow ways as well. I've seen that
Yeah,
done. Liam Brown's one that likes his clasping, and
yeah, he's good at it.
Matt Jones
and
did that as
Matt
well.
Jones as well. I was going to say
Yeah.
Matt Jones is really good, but them guys are way more flexible than I am as well.
Yeah.
I'm quite rigid, so I need to stick to my technique.
Before we went to Scotland, I was watching tons of videos, just trying to consume as much knowledge and information as I could about stone lifting. Because, like David said, I'd only been lifting for about 4 months up until that time. But
Yeah.
I watched multiple times that video of Matt Jones doing the Ardvorlich stone, and I had a thought to maybe clasp it, but it was the first stone on our tour, other than
Yeah.
you having lifted the Dinnie Stones. And I was like, you know what? I would love to get this thing just to say that I got it. But if I destroy myself, then
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any of the other stones. But I did use that technique as I had seen Matt Jones do it for the Menzies stone, which is a good example, the best maybe example we've experienced, other than maybe Full Sturker at Dritvik, where
Yeah.
a stone's weight doesn't always dictate the difficulty. The shape, the texture, all of those things have a huge impact. And Castle Menzies is such a difficult stone because it is like a marble. And so and this kind of speaks to this hot topic that we recently talked about with Full Sturker and assigning titles and having to go to
I did see that.
like that. Because a 250-pound stone that's well textured with handles versus Castle Menzies stone are completely different levels when it comes to the difficulty of the lift.
That Castle Menzies is one of the most underrated stones I think there is, because it is extremely difficult, you know, and I think it surprised a lot of people for just being 115 kg. It is a tough stone to get.
Well, there's about what would it be, 42 kilogram or 100-pound difference between Menzies and Strathmore of Durness. And I found Strathmore remarkably easier because we're talking perfect handles versus the opposite of perfect handles, right? And so again, it's not weight, and that's what makes stone lifting so cool. And one of the many
But
things
it's one of my favorite things of stone lifting, especially with the manhood or natural stones, is working the stone out. You know, I just love it, you know. And I think that's why I've also been so successful in my competitions, because that's the bit that I really enjoy. And at each event, I'm always the first person looking at that next event, sussing out the stone, exactly how I want to lift it. You know, it's in my head there before I get going on the event. And a lot of folk just like walk up to it, you know, and start the event. But mentally, I've got that stone. I know how it's working, and I know how it's going on my shoulder or pressing or whatever I'm doing with it. But yeah, working out them stones is a real fun part of the game.
It is, and I've spoke about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Is when you lift enough stones, you lift enough different shapes, you're aware of what your skill and your strength level is at. Is I always try and almost reverse the lift, so I lift the stone from the ground, thinking about the end stage of the lift. So whether it's got to go to shoulder or to barrel or plinth or walk or whatever it is I'm not lifting it with the best handles off the ground. I'm lifting it in the order that it needs to go by the end of the lift, and then working backwards. And I think
100%.
a good skill for people listening, if you're newer, to really try and think each stage of the lift through, because if you can get a stone that's quite heavy into your lap, but it's not in a position you can move it up your lap, well, you're not going to get the lift.
That's where it ends.
Well, exactly. Then it's done. You didn't complete the lift, right? Unless you're just trying to lap it, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. But if the goal is shoulder or whatever, right? So I don't know, just my two cents on that topic, because I feel the same way, John. I love figuring out the strength puzzle of each individual stone. It's really, really fun.
It's like, it's good when you get it to your lap. I've actually trained with my sandbags, and I get the sandbag to my lap, and I actually do sandbag turns. So I rotate the sandbag on my lap, just so I'm getting used to that turning strength. So you're like gripping in, like almost twisting your back, and you'll see some of the stone lifts that I've done. I quite like a wide pickup, but then when I go to shoulder it, I like it the stone tall ways, and I always like the heavy end. If there's a heavy end of the stone, I always like it on top because I always think then I can just tip the stone onto my shoulder from the heaviest point, and have the lightest point sort of out in front of me. Um, and also you'll see I never jolt the stone up my body. I actually like my spine, so I try and stay away from the jolting. So I've that's why I always try to get so deep in my squat that I can have the stone higher on my chest
Right.
to just tip it onto my shoulder.
Right.
But everybody's different, you know. There's so many good techniques out there and that, but yeah, it's sussing those stones out that are a fun thing.
That's funny because you're one of the people that's like myself that I like to also lift it vertically because I'm not a big guy, and there's really big thick dudes out there that can lean back and spin a stone on their chest.
Right.
I'm not one of them. So I like it vertically as well, but I like
Yeah.
actually the heavy side down personally because I find
Yeah.
that way I'm able to keep the density of the mass more directly over my hips when I'm going into thoracic.
Yeah.
And so that's both, both options have their merits. But again, that's one of the things that it comes down to, that it's so fascinating that every one of us could lift the same stone to the same extent in a different way.
I know. And it's a mental thing as well, because that's what works for you. You know what works for you, so you stick to what works. And that's how I kind of go with things as well. You know, and stick to your strengths. That's the best way to do it.
It is, but you also, with that being said, we're at the point now where we know where our strengths are. But for the people that are newer, it's also important to play around with all of the different styles, whether it is heavy part up, heavy part down, spinning on your chest, whatever the option is, because you may not realize you're actually better at a different style until you've tried it. And then eventually you're going to, like anything, you're going to find your groove and go, no, this is just what I like. But it's important to play around with all of it, whether you're picking it lengthwise, picking it narrow, spinning in the lap, spinning on the chest, or we have our buddy Troy here who will like almost throw it across his body up onto his shoulder. It's not even a spin, it's a throw, right? And so there's a lot of ways to do it. Yeah, it is a lot.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have tried every other way as well. So I've been at this 5 years now. So I totally get where you're coming from. You definitely need to try different things to see what works for you personally.
Absolutely. But again, it just comes with experience, right? As you find what works
that's the
best
thing.
for you.
That's the thing.
So after lifting the Dinnie Stones and then going to the Donald Dinnie Games, clearly the physical challenge of stone lifting and the puzzle reading and that excitement, really gripped you. But were there other aspects, for example, like the deep ties to Scottish history that really got you so? Because you kind of went from zero to all in a very short period of time. You're clearly still all in. So something has kept your attention over the past 5 years.
I've always been very proud to be Scottish. It's an absolutely amazing country. And even when I was over in New Zealand and that, it's amazing what pull Scotland has on all these different countries. You know, the amount of people that said, "Oh, my granddad was from Scotland," and I've always loved the historic side of things. Obviously, all the battles that had happened and things. You're all taught that in the schools here and things. But yeah, once I got into the stones and learning about the history, that definitely sucked me in. I mean, the Fianna having, over 600 years worth of history behind it. But that's amazing, to have that sort of documented history on a stone of all things. But, it's proven your manhood, I think it's just so cool. And then, you like see your more modern sort of ones, like the Castle Menzies or Mingus that they like to call it, they've all got their special sort of aspects to it.
No, I mean, we completely agree. As Canadians, right, most of our heritage is Scottish, but there's a huge population in Canada of Scottish descendants, right? Because so many came over, but we grew up with that Scottish pride from our grandparents, listening to the bagpipes and learning about the family history, our tartan, all that stuff. So it's something that, we really grasped onto growing up. And so to actually be a proud Scot in Scotland with all of this around you, like I can't imagine, like it means so much to us to be able to travel to do it, to experience the history, but
just know our roots here from Scotland.
Exactly. Right. And
cool.
we've mentioned this before in the podcast, but we, Didn't realize till afterwards. So our dad's dad was Nisbet, obviously, which is our last name, and our dad's mom was Dewar. And we didn't realize, and so we didn't realize till afterwards that Dewars were Seps under Clan Menzies. So we lifted the Castle Menzies stone, and so it is very possible that one of our relatives would have at least known about the stone, having been Seps underneath that. So I wish I'd done that research beforehand. It would have meant that much more when we were actually there, but hindsight being 2020.
And the Dewars Distillery is out in your neck of the woods in Aberdeen, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how far you can actually dig back and look at different names and things. There's the Stuarts and the McGregors and McLeods. There's so many different clans out there. My last name's Gibb, so my tartan's joined on to Buchanan. So there's so many different connections, though it's pretty wild when you look deeper into it.
Yeah. Well, so if we can take as much as I could talk all day about Scotland, but we came off an Icelandic trip, and you did earlier on the year. So can you tell us a little bit about when you started thinking about preparing for your trip to Iceland?
Yeah. So this was it was between Matt Jones and Jamie Oates, the Stone Beetle. Jamie Oates had said that he wanted to go to Iceland for his 40th birthday. So we spoke about this when he was about 38, and then he turned 40 in February this year, or February. And yeah, it all started from about a year before that. And, if somebody gives me an idea, I'm one of those guys that likes to run with it, start planning. I'd typed up a whole list of all the stones that we were going to do, what time we were drinking whiskey at. I had everything I had everything covered, even a cigar was thrown in there. So we'd done that. The cheapest flights for me was to go down to Glasgow, and Jamie and Matt came up from Birmingham direction to Glasgow as well. So they actually picked me up from the train station. We jumped on a flight from Glasgow to Reykjavik, and begun our Icelandic tour, which was just epic. We're there. Well, it was 5 days, but like 4 full days. But just what a place, what a country. We all fell in love with it, basically. It was just incredible. We got there. Will I just start going through what we did?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just go. So, like, day one, we got there. We had planned just to, have a couple beers, chill, and get up and do the Húsafell the next day, but weather wasn't too kind to us. Obviously, it was the end of March, so it was still pretty wild weather we were getting. We arrived at Reykjavik at about 5 o'clock, I think. Got our hire car once we'd finally managed to find it, and jumped in there, got to our accommodation, which was about 15 minutes from the Húsafell. We got there about 7:45 at night, and it was just starting, it was like dusk, just starting to come down dark, and we were all too excited, so we were like, screw it, let's go. We're going to the Húsafell because the weather looked better.
Yeah.
This was after being up from like 4 a.m. to get the train down to Glasgow from Aberdeen. So after like 15 hours of travel, we got to the Húsafell. And God, that place, it just put goosebumps through me, from seeing it on so many videos. You type in the Húsafell on YouTube or Instagram, there's so much videos of people doing it. To actually be there and see it, it was just goosebumps and nervous as well. You just felt that nervous butterflies in your belly sort of thing. And Matt Jones walked up to it. He had his first he had the first go at it, and yeah, I think you saw his video. It was pretty epic.
Talk about giving it everything you've got, right? Holding nothing back. Like he was.
Yeah. He was surprised how gassed out he got on it, but yeah, he made a crazy ass dive to the finish line with that one. And then it was my turn, and yeah, I don't know. I think, well, if you've seen my video, you see me take a breath, and I go, "Oh shit!" I was like, "That's the sort of feeling I was feeling, like, oh shit, I'm actually here, and I'm away to do it." But I'm one of these guys, when I do it, I know when to switch it on. You know, I can just in the moment switch it on, and I'm gonna do as best as I possibly can. And I said in my head, don't try show off or anything, and do more than one lap, or just go there and do the best lap that you can. And that's what I did. You know, I just, the stone flew off the ground. I couldn't believe it. It was in my chest straight away, and I just took off. You know, and I got that lap completed, and what a feeling it was. I was absolutely buzzing. You know, afterwards it was just like, wow, it was so cool. But like you guys obviously know that because you were there as well.
I say it's like you were chasing an injured rabbit as a kid, because you were literally jogging with the Húsafell around the pen. Like,
yeah, it felt really good, to be fair. But I was happy with what I'd done. You know, I'd completed it, just put the stone down. I even managed to put it down nice and careful as well. None of this launching it over the line and stuff. So no, I was really happy with it. It couldn't have went any better for me. I was so chuffed.
Yeah, well, like Dale had mentioned this in the past, but you did it as easy as anybody's ever done it, or you made it look as easy. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it was just it was a great video that we both watched a number of times as we prepared for our trip and our attempts as well. Because you just did it very easily. Textbook. Yeah, that's sums it up perfectly. Yeah, it was a textbook.
No, I appreciate that, guys.
And you know, you kind of felt the same way that I did. Like, and it's nothing against anybody who wants to carry it further. You do you, but the goal was to do one lap. I wanted to do one lap. Could I have gone further? Probably a bit further. How much further? I don't know. But like, sounds like we feel similar. It's like the task is one lap. Let's do the best one lap we can. Set it down with grace and respect, and call her a day, right? And so I think that's really cool, because you for sure could have gone farther, probably much further, but you went there for one task and you did it, and you just did a great job of it, man.
That was the main. You know, give yourself your main goal and just complete it the best you can, you know, and if you're capable of doing it, then it's even better.
That's also another element too, is if you're going there just for the Húsafell, it's a different conversation than if you're doing the Húsafell and then 4 more days of lifting. Is every attempt on every stone just like takes that strength meter down, right?
Definitely. Oh yeah, and I mean, it's the highs and lows, is it? Because you do the Húsafell, and well, we were calling it riding the lightning, and that's what we were doing for 4 days. Basically, was riding the lightning. But you know, you hit that Húsafell, and then you got back to your bed at night time, and you're lying there thinking, right, I need to get to sleep for the drip Vic tomorrow. And you're just lying there buzzing. You couldn't get to sleep. My eyes were wide awake. I must have got about 2 hours sleep that night, because you were just excited to get going on the next part of the journey.
Did you try a scotch like we did after the Húsafell?
Yeah,
we did. We actually had a hot tub at the place as well, so we were straight into the hot tub. Yeah, but the outside light didn't work, so we all had whiskeys and beers in the pitch dark. Couldn't see an absolute thing in the hot tub, but it definitely helped the weary muscles anyway.
We might have stayed at the same place.
I'm wondering if we didn't stay at the same place, because it's 15 minutes away with a hot tub. Was there like a beautiful view of like a valley almost?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Was it like a yellow sort of place? Was it yellow? I can't quite remember now, but yeah, it was like a little cabin sort of house place.
Yeah, I bet it was the same spot there. I can't imagine there's too many with all of that.
No, I wouldn't have been. We wouldn't have been.
Yeah. So yeah, we were at the same. We're probably the same spot. That was a great location. There was like a big stone there with another tiny stone plinth on top of it. It was like a little fairy house.
Yeah, a little fairy house
on the side.
Yeah, I slept there.
There could have been, but it was so dark by the time we got back from the Húsafell. and we were up early the next day to drive because must have been, I think it was almost a 4-hour drive to Dritvik from there.
It is, yeah.
And it would have been worse for you guys with the weather, right? Being in the end of March versus June.
Yeah, the weather was wild the whole time. It was just crazy. Well, to Dritvik wasn't too bad because we were slightly lower lands, but once you got up into the mountains and that, we were in whiteout blizzards and things at times. It was just nuts.
Brave gentlemen. The tasks of those stones are big enough on their own. So when you add in things like winter and stuff,
I know.
We did.
Well, we're going to Iceland. It looked far too nice of weather when you guys went to Iceland.
I know we were spoiled. Yeah,
we were spoiled.
We get enough blizzards here where we live, so we're good without any more blizzards. Exactly. We get 5 months of snow a year, so we want to travel not into snow.
Yeah. So speaking of bad weather and difficult stones, Dritvik, you guys had, obviously it could be worse, but about as bad weather at Dritvik as I've seen, which is absolutely lashing rain on one of the smoothest lifting stones I've ever lifted. So
yeah, no, it was freezing as well. There was a wind going about, you know. We tried to take shelter. There was like a little bit next to Dritvik that there was a sort of cave. We're trying to shelter in there and keep warm. You don't see any of that in the videos, but you're like blowing your hands. You're like freezing. But yeah, we had to go at all the stones there. Matt and Jamie did some amazing lifting on that. The biggest Dritvik there, the full starter one. It was just awesome. Them doing their clasping technique and that just worked really well with that because you know you didn't need to grip as much. For me, I went more traditional, my sort of way. I tried to get into the position for the clasping, but just wasn't working. So I gave it one last Hail Mary sort of shot, and that's why I'm like this.
Yeah. For everyone listening that can't see, his right arm is fully casted from the fingers all the way up to the elbow. So talk about what happened there, because it's hard to tell. Now that we know what happened in the video, you can kind of see at the end where you shake your arm up, but it wasn't just a shaking off something. This is a serious.
It was just, it's basically you've got 8 bones in your wrist, and there's the 2 main bones is the scaphoid and the lunate bone. And there's a small ligament runs between these 2 bones. And when I went to pick up the Dritvik, I felt a pop go in my wrist straight away, but I just kept going through it, got the stone to my lap. And then I was trying to mess about with it to stand up, but I could feel something had gone in my wrist. And yeah, basically tore that ligament completely. It wasn't until like 4 months later, until I got an MRI, that it sort of confirmed what I had done. So yeah, last week, this is 1 week since surgery. He was going to go in and try do a scaphoid lunate reconstruction, but there was no ligaments left to work with. I'd done a really good job, and obviously it's 7 months since I tore it, so I think basically the remnants of the ligaments just disappeared. So he's actually done a scaphoid lunate arthrodesis. I sound like a doctor here with all these. But it's basically they've done wrist fusion on these 2 bones. So there's now a pin going through the scaphoid and the lunate to keep these 2 stable and together. And there's a few other like little suture pins, he called them, that holds things in place. So yeah, it'll make my wrist strong again, but I will probably lose a good bit of movement. Like I can move this wrist to here. I imagine I'll probably be about here with my other wrist and not like back, sort of that. So yeah, it is what it is. Injuries happen. You know, I wasn't going to let it get me down. I didn't know at the time what I had done, so I carried on and lifted another 19 stones after that with a pretty wrecked wrist. But like I said, it is what it is, and you don't make any excuses, just get on with it.
Yeah, and there's a point to be made there, John, which this is one of the reasons why we have so much respect for you. Not only your outlook now, understanding that you're going to be limited going forward, but it kind of is what it is. It
Mhm.
comes with the territory.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you, out of anyone, can be happy with what you've done in stone lifting to date. But you went on and lifted 19 more stones, and you made
yeah.
zero excuses.
None.
Zero excuses. And it's one of the things when you talk about going on a stone tour, putting yourself in the elements, in the place, lifting the stones, you're out of your comfort zone, you're putting your body on the line. And in your case, you got an injury, but you didn't let that hinder you. And even if you weren't operating at full capacity, you just kept going and did what you could, in the condition that you were in, and made zero excuses. And so I know you want to add to that too, Dave, because you feel very strongly about this as well.
Yeah, and we'd had a one-on-one conversation about this as well, John. But like,
Yeah,
that's
no,
part of the things. Like, and this isn't some kind of like high and mighty position. Like, you wouldn't understand unless you've been on a stone tour type thing. But people need to realize that, I love lifting in my garage and when everything's perfect, and it's fantastic to hit PRs when you're feeling your best. But when you're on these stone tours, there's so many unknown elements, whether the weather, the travel, the lack of sleep, the consistent lifting, going from nutrition 100% to sitting in your car for 5 hours to going 100%. And people, when you're on a stone tour, you have to assume that you're not at your best just by the nature of the beast. And that's why that was a roundabout way of me wanting to give you credit, because Drittvik, you had one of the smoothest picks I've ever seen anybody get, and you couldn't quite go into extension, because you just tore a tendon, but also because it was pouring rain. You made no excuses. You just were happy for the opportunity, and then you went on to do all the things you did, and you deserve credit for it, because in a world, so much of what we do is broadcasted through social media. I do it. Most people do it. It's how we share our experiences, but you just showed what you did, and you were proud of it and happy of it. There was no excuses, no nothing. And I just think you deserve a lot of credit for that. It shows who you are.
It's a great example for the community when you have a top lifter who doesn't lift it to the extent that I'm sure you did. All you said at the end of your lift was, that's all I've got. And then you moved on to the next one. There was no excuses, no feeling sorry for yourself. You just moved on. And so again, it's a great example for people, and probably that personality and that grit and perseverance, and not giving yourself space to make excuses is why you're so successful lifting stones. So
no, I appreciate that, guys. And I said to you at the time, Dave, I just got the bad news about the wrist and things, and you'd sent this voice message through, and you wouldn't believe how much it actually helped me. You can put on a strong face and all that, but it does get to you mentally and things. But that message meant a hell of a lot, so I do appreciate it.
Oh yeah, just speaking the truth, my friend. It was impressive to see. But so let's continue on with the roadmap of your trip. So driving from terrible weather at Drittvik, what was your next stop?
Yeah, and then we went over to the Legstein, which was such a cool stone. It was one of my favorite moments of the tour, was to get round that plinth with the Legstein. And just what a stone. It's just such a nice stone. It was smooth. It's a cool shape. It was just so different to any other stone I'd ever lifted before. So it was just cool to be there and doing it. Went there, tried to lift it the first time, and I was like, oh, my wrist is goosed. Tried again, walked it maybe 3-4 feet, and then I let Matt have a go. And Matt and Jamie both struggled to stand up with it, and then they were like, right, it's freezing, let's let it go. I was like, right, one more shot at it, and I thought, let's go for it. So wrapped my arms around it, grabbed onto my wrist sort of thing. I've always had a strong stand up with my legs and things, and that is a very strong stand up sort of stone. If you can get your back nice and straight and get lower into your squat and do as much leg drive as you can, then you'll get on a lot better with that stone. I managed to complete the full circle, so we must be near that 100 rotations now.
Oh, I think it's well past it now.
Yeah, it has to be.
I think so. There was an event a couple months after where a whole bunch of local strongmen went and they broadcasted it live, and I think they'd hit the 100 there. Yeah. We didn't get a chance to sign the book, unfortunately, because we were there at 1 a.m, locked out of our hotel. But so we just kept on that night. But
I wasn't aware that there was a book, to be honest with you.
There
was somebody walking about.
There's a book in the hotel apparently where you can log your name into it. Yeah. So anyways,
no, we stood and watched a golden retriever wash itself in the snow, which was quite cute to watch.
Okay.
That's what we did.
That's how you get amped up to lift a stone.
Yeah. But no, that was a great stone. And then I'm trying to think where we went next. I think it was onto the Puterus and the Latra stones.
Yeah.
There was quite a few stones down in that one area.
Judas,
the Judas stone as well.
Yeah.
What a lovely shape of stone that Judas stone was, I thought. Like almost like a teardrop sort of shape to it, is it? Yeah, I really liked that stone. It'd be a great training stone, I thought, because there's so many different ways you could lift it.
It's a pleasure to lift too. It's one of those stones where you just lift it, it feels nice. That's a great stone.
That stone never disappears. People they're gonna know whose garage to look in.
Yeah. But it's a nice weight as well. It's like the 120 sort of weight is, it's just a good weight I find to train with. I don't ever tend to go crazy heavy, but yeah, I like to rep out things. So yeah, around about the 120, 130 mark. So is a good weight. And then there was that massive stone that was like 282 that was just down the road from that.
Brynjolf stack, yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird stone. I didn't think much of that one, to be fair.
I feel the same way, man. Yeah, I completely agree. It
was a lot of effort for not much lifting.
Same as I feel, man. Yeah, like I like that it's historic, but it doesn't interest me to lift anything 1 inch off the ground. But
that's just not at all.
Personal opinion. That's all.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely of the same opinion on that one. I think the other guys were the same as well.
But Latra, those stones there, the plinth, how cool is that spot?
That is really cool. You feel like you're on the edge of the earth there. It's
you're at the edge of a continent, right? It's so cool.
Know. Yeah, never really experienced anything quite like that. And it was freezing when we were there as well. But yeah, I did all the stones onto the plinth. Then Matt did all of them, and then Jamie went and got was it 177, I think? 177 kg?
That's exactly the All-Sturker stone, yeah.
The All-Sturker. So for some reason we all thought that was the full Sturker, and Jamie was like, I'm not leaving here until I'm full Sturker. But he actually did the All-Sturker stone, so I don't know if you'd seen his video, but God, it was good to see that video.
He gives her, man.
Just absolute grit, perseverance, determination, and then the celebration at the end. Like, it's one of those things, if you've done a stone lift that has meant a lot to you, you can really relate to somebody. When you see a video, you understand how they feel in that moment. And for him, like, what an amazing accomplishment.
Well, Jamie's normally, he's such a laid back dude. He's lying down most of the time. And he's even before it, I was so close to like giving him a slap to waking him up, but he actually was jogging about because it was so cold. We were like, go and run about. So he starts doing lengths up and down the grass for about 5-10 minutes, and then he went for it. And God, it was a good moment. I'd never really seen him come alive like that before. So yeah, we drank a fair bit of whiskey that night.
Well, and again, kudos to you, All-Sturker, with your wrist issue too, right? Like, that makes it even more impressive now in hindsight, knowing what the damage was.
I know. I looking back at it now, I'm thinking, God, I can't believe I actually did some of those stones with the injury that I had. But it's what it is. Like I say, you just get on with it.
That's exactly it. And I suppose the one thing I was thinking about when I was there is, of any of the stones, All-Sturker is probably one of the, I don't want to say easiest in a negative way, but one of the ones that the texture works the best when it is wet, though, because it's quite pour us. And I was thinking about that because when you were there, it was just starting to rain. Remember, it was coming in. I was like, hey, well, if it does start downpouring on us, it does feel like it's something that is, because it's very rough to the point that we actually put a sweater on just so we didn't shred our arms. Not that we're not strangers to being cut up by stones, but we had more lifting to do, and so we put it. And so I thought, at least if it starts pouring, this one is going to be, it's going to be doable in the rain, I feel.
Yeah, it's very grippy. I think it's actually the second or third stone's actually more difficult because it's more rounded and it's smooth as anything. But I think that's why them stones are so cool, because you've just got a bit of everything at them that they all work really well together.
And there's just something about a plinth, like a big stone plinth. I really like that.
Yeah. No, it's a really cool area. I really liked it.
Yeah, it certainly it take the ambiguity out of how the stones were lifted too. Like there's no room for interpretation when the plinth is right in front of you, right? You go, where these go?
Yeah, and it's a tight squeeze as well to get them all balanced on there as well. So
not a lot of real estate.
Yeah. And I'm just remembering, is it Dijandi waterfall? We done that one as well.
Yeah, we didn't make it to that. We ran out of time.
What a place beautiful. That was. Yeah. Oh, it was just stunning. There's just, well, you see the large waterfall, but the walk up to it, there's just waterfall upon waterfall. It's an incredible place. It's so beautiful.
That's awesome. I got curious because clearly you and Matt and Jamie have been good friends for a while, I'm guessing, since you started Stonelifting. But maybe talk about what it's like and the camaraderie you develop when you do go on stone tours with people and you're in the car for hours on end doing these physically difficult things.
It is. And I mean, it's almost, you kind of get that feeling of being a bit younger again as well, because you're out with the lads and, you're just having a good time, really. It's just that banter and having a joke, having a sing-song at times. Jamie took over the driving at one point, and I swear to God, he hit every pothole he possibly could. But it was because my credit card was on the hire car. But it was just that sort of thing. He's like, I'm trying not to hit the holes, and it's just so much fun. And it's the same with Brett and Mark and Jamie and that. You get in the car and you are there for hours and that, and there's never a fallout or anything. There's just a group of lads that love, trying to better themselves, trying to be stronger, for their families, for their kids. It's just bringing all that together. And on a stone tour, it all does just come together, and you just have such a great time.
Yeah, and we found too, like the egos are they're left at home. If you have an ego, you leave it at home because it's an adult man or woman's excuse to go on an adventure.
It really, like
as a middle-aged man, you don't get a lot of opportunities to go frolic in the mountains and lift heavy things, but that's exactly what you're there to do.
Yeah. And I mean, a prime example was I got to go to FIFOR this year in Norway, and I took my wife with me. And, no kids. It was the first time I haven't had kids for about 5 years, and it was just got to the FIFOR hotel, and it was like 60, 70 people that were all there just because they love strength sports, they love stone lifting, all like-minded folk. There was, like you say, there was no massive egos or anything. Everybody spoke to each other. It's just such a cool place as well. The owner there has done an incredible job with all the equipment, the strongman equipment and things. It's a prime example of leaving your ego at the door and just going in there and having a great time.
Yeah, Sandra Bradley she couldn't say enough good things about that. Like she said, it was an adult strength camp in the mountains, right?
Yeah, it's mental because, well, I was meant to be competing, and Eagle and Kiki, who run it, was like, we still want you over, John. We love what you do. But they actually ended up making me head referee for it, for the World's Strongest Stonelifter. And I mean, if folk know me, I'm pretty, if I do something, I do it right. I know all the rules. Obviously, I've competed quite a lot. So they've actually invited me back next year to be the head referee. So it's such an honor to be asked to do that. So, yeah, I'm in the door with Eagle and Kiki, and I don't want to lose that opportunity.
It seems like a lot of fun. Like I kind of closed the door in my competitive career, if you call it that, but that's one that I'd open the door back for is to go compete there. But
I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
I would highly recommend it to anyone. Even just to go for the moose soup. That was incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Moose soup, that would be good.
I'd never eaten moose before, but the moose soup was so good.
Moose is good.
Moose is good. We've had our share of moose and elk and other things like that. Luckily, being from Canada, one of the benefits of living in the frozen north.
Yeah, we have a lot of game to hunt.
Yeah.
No, very good.
That's awesome. Maybe to sort of circle back to your entrance into stone lifting and the incredible success that you've had both at the competition level, the stone tour level. Were there things that you learned that helped you excel so quickly that you think would be really helpful to new people coming into stone lifting that might be, starting now and not understand how to sort of break through those plateaus?
It's a good question. That I found for the competitive side of things, and a coach was really beneficial to me because it kind of kept me honest. Even though I'm a determined bugger and I like to do my own thing, I found I got a really good rapport with my coach, Jackson. He's not my coach now because I don't need one. I'm out of that game. But just having someone to report to each week, he didn't really help me as much on technique and that because I learned just that through my own sheer will, but just something to stay honest to, make yourself accountable.
Right. I think one thing that I've picked up from our conversation, and it's something that I've seen missed by a lot of people, and it's maybe not thought about as not enough, is that the art of actually being able to compete is something people underestimate. So I have one of my best friends in the world. We started powerlifting and strongman together. He got very good and went to worlds, but he, at the start, and I think he would admit to this, he lacked the ability to compete. He would always falter on game day. It's like if there's a competition and there's 5 events, well, the first event before you touch any weight is the actual ability to compete. And that also carries over to stone tours because a lot of people flop, right? And so I think that that's a missed skill that a lot of people have. You made a reference earlier at Húsafell to saying your ability to just turn it on. And fortunately, I think as we both grew up in all sorts of sports, as we both have that gear where we can go, okay, fun, here we are. Okay, let's go. I think that's maybe missed. And for the people that haven't grown up competing, maybe doing a ton of sports, that might be something to keep in the back of your mind as you prep for a competition, a stone tour, anything like that, is when you're training, really treat every lift as it is in competition. And like, I know you're the same as me. When I'd go to bed at night for months and months and months, I'd be picturing the Húsafell or the Dinnie Stones or whatever it is and mentally preparing. So, because if it's one thing to be physically prepared, you could take the strongest guy on the planet, but if his mind isn't there, he doesn't stand a chance against anybody, right?
No, I completely agree with that. And, like the hard work's done in the training and you go to the competition, the hard work's done, but you really need to switch it on once you get there. And I've seen so many people that have got so much ability, but when they get to a comp, they shrivel away to nothing. And then they just don't perform, and then they've got excuses once they don't perform. But you do need to learn to be able to switch that on and turn the power on.
It is, and I think a lot of times they don't know how to compete or lift post adrenaline dump, because in competition it's you get this massive surge of adrenaline, you do your lift, and then you have to learn how to calm your body back down and get ready for the next one, because if you keep amped up, you're going to burn out very quickly. And I think anyone who's competed quite a bit, and I've done my fair shares, that's been my experience, what I've done for myself and what I've seen happen in other people.
I think for myself, I do the the heavy weights in my shed or whenever I'm training, but you'll never see me amped up in my shed, like screaming my head off, because I'm just here to train, get the work done. But in a competition, you'll see a completely different animal. You know, I'm shouting, I'm in the zone sort of thing, and that's when I switch it on. You know, I leave it to when it really, really matters.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing that I've found does help, and it sort of creates a sense of urgency where you go, I've got to get the task done and I've got to do it now, is doing things like cluster singles in my training. So I'm
Hmm.
doing a rep every minute on the minute. And if I don't, then I'm just stealing rest time from the next set that I have to do. And so
Yeah,
you really have to go, I don't really feel like doing it. Oh, I'm still tired, I'm recovering. But you go, no, I've got to go. I've got to jump. I've got 5 seconds to do it. Switch it on and get the lift done, and then I've got more rest on the backside. And so that's something, even just on sort of the micro scale, that I've kept doing
yeah,
that kind of helps. On the macro, turn it on when you're in the environment and you need to, because like
That's it.
yeah.
The timer keeps you accountable to
Yep,
yourself, right?
exactly.
So there's
hmm
no, no, that's a really,
yeah,
really good point.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I agree with that, definitely. Even with my squatting, I do similar to that with my squats. I'm a huge believer, even though I love my stone lifting and things, I love my squatting and my deadlifting, and I'll always say, well, Mark Haydock's the one that always said to me, you know, squats are king. And they have made me have as strong a legs as anyone, you know. So yeah, strong legs, and you lift heavy shit.
Mark actually coached me many years ago for
Oh, did
my
he?
second strongman competition. Yeah, I'd come across him on Instagram, and I'd
Oh,
never seen
cool.
anything. I'd never seen anything like it. Like
Yeah,
his grip, his power, just him working out in his shed in old sweatpants, doing the most unbelievable things. And
he's
unfortunately,
incredible.
he is incredible. And I feel bad because I wasn't the best version of myself when I was getting coached by him, because I kept having back issues and I just barely got through the
Yeah.
competition. Luckily, it went really well and I was fortunate to win it, but I almost didn't make it into it. So I felt bad working under Mark, because he's like, I need you, you know, he gives you the program. And I'm like, man, I just cannot do this right now, because I was
Yeah.
just so banged up. But I actually learned quite a bit from him, because he trained, I came from a powerlifting background, and not that Mark
Okay. Yeah.
isn't exceptional at those things, but he just had a different, it was kind of a branch into the more obscure strength training, the way that he had me doing walkouts and holds and all of these things. And yeah, I
Mhm.
just think Mark deserves a lot of credit for his knowledge and his strength.
Oh, he does. He's an absolute powerhouse. And have you met him in real life?
No, I hope I
No,
get to.
he's got a back like a gorilla as well. You know, he sometimes looks a bit deceiving, I think, in his videos, but when you actually meet him, he's almost as wide as he is
I
tall.
wouldn't say
He's
I'm
just
listening.
he's an absolute beast and
He
an
looks like a thick
incredible
dude.
lifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's one of the
You
best.
sort of training for stones and how it is imperative that you are training with stones, but then also, especially if you don't have a background in barbell sport, there's a lot of strength to be gained in doing those movements like deadlifts, squats, things like that. Do you branch out into any good mornings or anything like that, or do you just sort of stick to the staples with squat and deadlift?
No, I've done good mornings and that. Yeah, I'll definitely do some other things. Some pause squats as well. Deadlifts. I do a bit of bench pressing as well. I normally try when I'm training properly. I'll do a leg day, an upper day, and then I'll have like a events day if I'm prepping for a competition.
Okay.
I used to try and fit 4 training days in a week, but I just felt like it affected one of the other days. So I found 3 days of the week worked really well for me. And once I found that worked well, I stuck to that for like 3.5 years basically. Um, and yeah, I managed to put on decent muscle and just eating right as well. I've always been a natural athlete also, which is very important to me. But yeah, just good food, plenty of mince and tatties and porridge.
Am I wrong, or did you not pull 700 pounds? You deadlifted 700.
330 kgs, my best deadlift. What's
That's
that?
That's right. That's right around 7 bills, I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
330.
330. 330 is my best deadlift.
Woo!
727 for a man who hasn't been training strength sports for more than 5 years is ridiculous.
yeah, yeah, it is, especially if I think I've got about 1,000 posts, but if you scroll to the very first couple, that is embarrassing. I'm like repping out 80 kg on a 1-inch bar for 5 reps and like struggling. It's amazing just with the right guidance and picking up tips and tricks. I mean, I was when I was in FIFA, I had Ed Cohen giving me tips on my deadlift and
I
that, and he
saw that.
said
How cool
he
is
said
that?
he was like, to be fair, you've actually got a pretty good deadlift. I was like, well, thank you very much.
From the
But yeah,
powerlifting goat, and he is the goat. The
I
term
know.
goat gets thrown around too much these days, but Ed is the powerlifting goat, and I don't think many people would argue with that.
It was honestly, I was a bit starstruck, and when I went up, I felt nervous because, well, everybody gets nervous, but um, everybody was wanting to see Ed lift the bar, but he was like, no, he wouldn't. And then when I was up, he was talking me through it, and then he went, oh, how moved to the side, and he lifted it, and I went a bit lightheaded. I was like, holy shit, that's Ed, that's Ed actually picking up a barbell. It was so cool.
The Ed lift,
But
yeah, that's awesome. I was wondering if I could ask you a question real quick, because one of the
yeah,
questions I get asked the most is people want to know the best gym exercises to help train for stones if you don't have access to stones. So if you were to we'll keep it easy. If you were to just pick 3 of the exercises you think have the best carryover to stone lifting or even sandbags for people without access to them, what would you recommend?
without access, I would definitely do squats. I'll always say squats first. You don't even have to go heavy on your squats. Rep that bar out, do 5 to 10, and get your legs pumping, get yourself breathing hard with the squats. A trap bar is also really good. I really like the trap bar. That also carries over really good if you're wanting to do like nickel stone or Dinnie stone picks. That's really good. And the third one, I really like box jumps, believe it or not. Just that spring out the hole. Um, build yourself up, start low, work yourself up to, I go up to 24-inch and rep that out for maybe 8 to 10 jumps at a time. Just get the heart pumping fast. But strong legs, I always think strong legs, strong back, the squats will help with all of that. I will always say that squats is what's made me so strong.
I would throw in just one thing on the trap bar that I've played around with in the past, just for anyone listening, looking for the insight in this is the trap bar. Usually the technique for the trap bar deadlift is going to be as much of an upright torso as you can possibly have, so you can really drive your legs into the ground,
Yeah.
which of course is a fantastic cue. But when we're stone lifting, our torso cannot be upright. So I like to lift from the neutral, not the high handles. And I like
Okay.
to actually let my hips come up into a similar hip hinge position you would be for a stone. So it's going to be a lot more posterior chain dominant and require to get you much more of a full hinge instead of a straight stand up. So just some food for thought for anybody listening is you can turn that trap bar into a little bit more of a stone lifting pick position by allowing those hips to start higher before you actually pick it up off the ground.
Yeah. No, it's a good shout, definitely. But I've got the sandbags here as well, so I actually probably use the sandbags more than the stones, to be honest with you. Just because they're easier to have in the gym, and they won't go through the floor as easily
They'll
either.
beat you up and scratch you up either too, so you can do them more consistently. Yeah. I just wanted to point out too, it's not to get philosophical, but what a very cool example you set for new lifters, and understand, like, a lot of people, if they get into a new sport and activity, especially one that develops or that requires the development of strength, you might be staring up at what you perceive to be an Everest in order to be able to actually go and lift substantial stones. But in a number of years, with some dedication and accountability, you've been able to go from humble early beginnings. And obviously there's certainly some athletic gifts and ability to compete in things that are there, right? And all the hard work as a football player and stuff like that growing up. But like, just dedicate yourself, be hard on yourself and accountable, and stick to your program, and you can see these huge leaps and bounds in just a number of years. I'm not saying that you're going to be shouldering the Ardvorlich, but yeah, I think maybe that the task is not as insurmountable as you might perceive it to be when you're really new at something.
No, it's just that perseverance as well, you know, keep chipping away and you'll always gradually get better. My little saying is discipline forged, strength revealed. I like to use that as like a hashtag, but that's sort of my mantra is like if you manage to forge that discipline and stay consistent, your strength will come through and it'll shine through in such positive ways.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And just you're kind of almost in a similar boat to almost Stone Daddy in some ways, where because he are you familiar with him, the lifter from Utah?
Yeah.
Because Alex, I'm trying to remember, but I don't believe he had a real strength background, but he's
a rock climber.
He was a rock climber, but he was under a great coach with Ryan Stewart, and he worked his ass off, and he has made incredible gains. And so, like the lifter he is now is incredible, and you're the same way. And the only reason I mentioned him is because you're a bigger, thicker guy, whereas Alex is a smaller guy, more similar to myself. And so anybody listening, like you guys are both great examples on either end of the spectrum of, you know, new to strength sports, but hard work and good coaching. And look where you both are.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's, he's come on leaps and bounds in the last year or so. It's great to see. That's one of the things that I love watching, and I think like your Liam Brown, he's such a nice guy, and he's so supportive. But he's incredibly strong as well for like a 90 kg guy. Some of the weights he's throwing about, it's mental these days.
Constantly lifting, constantly.
He's
right?
very
like,
strong.
I don't know how he does it so often. I'd be broken, but he's a good few years younger than me.
How old are you?
I'll be 40 next June, so I'll be into the Masters category next year.
Yeah, that's what I just did 2 months ago. So yeah, it's.
Oh, was it? Oh well, happy birthday.
I was 40 at the end of August. It sucks.
Yeah.
I got my hair cut today, and the hairdresser was commenting on the length of my ear hair, and so I'm like, oh man,
nice. Yeah. No, that definitely.
No, not
that's
even
about all I can grow now is ear hair.
Not even in the ear holes, the actual ears. So it's
you're just growing your own earmuffs. It's preparation for winter.
Maybe it's a Canadian thing.
You're growing a new coat.
Yeah, it's a fall.
No, it's definitely a Scottish thing as well.
Yeah. One other thing too, just to circle back to the new lifter idea too, is that, you know, it is obviously great to have a coach, but another thing that you are the beneficiary of is the fact that people in the Stonelifting community are so giving of their time and their knowledge. You were able to surround yourself with some incredible people that sort of took you under their wing and helped guide you through the different aspects of stone lifting as you were getting into them. And so reach out. If you're a new stone lifter, reach out, find someone in the community that you respect and you want to, you know, emulate, and talk to that person, because I can guarantee you more often than not, they're going to be happy to share their time and their knowledge with you.
Yeah, I have so many messages all the time from people, and you know, it's sometimes from guys that you wouldn't expect asking for advice and that, and I just love it. You know, I'm like an open book. If people want some advice or some help or anything like that, I'm always here. Just drop us a message, and I'm happy to give you some advice. It might work for you, it might not, but I'm a not bad example. I've got a couple decent trophies up there, and that's of what I've managed to do.
I would say so.
Yeah.
You know, so no, you just got to ask me.
One final topic, and I think this is one that I've been looking forward to discussing with you above all other guests that we've had, because I think you do such a good job of this, and it's something that, as a father of two young boys, I really, really appreciate. Is that, I mean, you've got 4 children, but you have your 2 young boys, and you've gotten them involved in stone lifting and in strength, and something that always comes forward in your videos, not the fact that just you are so supportive of them, but how you've created an environment for them where they are equally as supportive of each other. When either of them does a lift, the other one is so jazzed, big hugs, shouting, everyone's so excited. Like, that's such a, whether it's through the lens of strength sports or something else, to encourage your children to have that love and that focus and that camaraderie at such a young age is something, again, we try to do with our boys as well. But when you see it, it's just something that have so much appreciation for. So
I think as a father, you just feel like you've got that responsibility to pass on as much knowledge and positive thoughts as you can to your children. And that's all I try to do. I try to fill them of confidence, self-belief and strength. And I mean, Lawson and Ellis, they're just incredible. Lawson's been training with me since he was a year old, and I posted a couple of videos of him yesterday, straight into the stones, That's basically a body weight stone. He's launching about and he's calling it lightweight.
Stone, right? Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. 20 kg. I think he weighs about 21, 22 kg. So, but they just love it, and it brings us together, even when we're out walking the dogs, we're out in the hills or walking, and we're always looking for a stone. It's just it's a great reason to get out, and it's just fun at the end of the day as well. If they're having fun, I'm having fun. That's what it's all about.
It's so great, like bonding of you guys together, sharing in a common interest, you're instilling discipline and hard work, and it must give them such a huge sense of confidence as well. Because again, like when I remember growing up as a kid, like as much as I would do things that I did because I loved them, also seeking approval from the people you look up to, which in most cases, especially I know in mine, were my parents, right? So you're doing this. So when you're there, so proud of them, they certainly feel that, and it helps encourage them to do more, probably not just in Stonelifting, but in life in general. So just hats off to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's even when I'm competing as well. I don't know if you've heard them, but I think it was, when I won Scotland's strongest Stonelifter, you can hear in the videos, like, everybody's shouting, "Come on, John!" And you can hear my boys shouting, "Come on, John!" And I'm like, "Oi, I'm dad to you."
Only at the competition.
Hearing their voices, especially when lifting the Dinnie Stones and things, it just makes you feel like the Incredible Hulk sometimes. It just gives you that extra power.
Well, you set a great example for them as well as others in the community, and we really, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us again. Like, just for anyone who
I've been looking forward to this for a long time, so thank you very much for having me on. It's been a great honor.
Oh, we really appreciate you coming on.
Anything you want to throw out there, plug to anyone? Like, again, you can see we're sporting our Highland Wolf Strength t-shirts.
Highland Wolf Strength t-shirts. If you want a t-shirt, just give us a message. I can easily sort that out for you. I'd also like to thank Cerberus Strength. They've been a huge help to me. I couldn't believe that they took me on as an athlete this year. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out, but they've been so supportive. I've actually donated one of my stones up to them, and me and Brett found another stone for them. So they've got their own lifting stones up in Inverness, the Hellhound stone, and I can't remember what they named the one I gave them, but they're 139 kg stones and 111 kg stones. So head up, give Cerberus Strength a message and book in your lift. They would love to see you up there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John.
No, thank you very much, guys. Pleasure.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please be so kind as to leave the show a review, and then follow us over on Instagram at stonesofstrength_podcast.